Module 3 is about knowing your worth, and this is all about being able to quantify the value that you can potentially bring to your audience and to your sponsors as well. And this one is going to start with a bit of a plea. I had to tone this down from being a complete rant, but I'm going to make it a plea. Can we please, collectively as drivers, please stop this bullshit about selling exposure on a car? Can we please stop selling logos on a car? It's done, okay? It's not a thing. And I swear to God, I was printing out all of this, the resources for this course this afternoon. And I shit you not, I was on LinkedIn and I saw a driver that I know very well selling sponsorship on their car, selling the logos on the car as the main point. And I'm just thinking to myself, why are we doing this? You know, why are we reducing ourselves to being a moving billboard when collectively we're so much better than that? And the thing is, I have got absolutely no ill will to any drivers that are doing that, right? We're just doing what we've learned, what we're trying to think. We're all trying to do what we think is the right thing. But I'm here telling you now, it's not putting a logo on a car. That should never be your main pitch. That should never be your main thing that you're selling as a racing driver. It absolutely should be there and it should have its place in your package, but it's a cherry on top. It's a nice to have. It's a way of saying thank you to a business or brand that is getting behind you. It should never be the main thing that you are selling. But let's focus on how we actually sell real value and how we measure that real value, because that can be incredibly difficult to do. The problem with that is that you've got a lot of assets. You've got potentially a social media audience. You've got people that are going to be your fans. If you're just starting out, that might be a very small amount of people that are coming to watch you or coming to see you take part in your races, but they're fans nonetheless. I'm a huge fan of an article out there by a guy called Kevin Kelly. He did a seminal piece years ago called 1000 True Fans. And the premise of this was that all you needed was 1,000 dedicated, loyal, passionate followers to fund your journey into anything. They would buy your merchandise. They would buy whatever it is you had to sell. That's what we need to focus on. We need drivers to focus on finding their 1,000 true fans, finding their audience, because that's what brings value to sponsors. We also need to figure out what it is that sponsors actually are looking for, because 9 times out of 10, they're not looking for a logo on the car. They're not looking for exposure. They're looking for either access to your audience, they're looking for your expertise, or they're looking for a service that you can provide to them. They're not looking to be seen by lots of other people, certainly not in the way that you're envisioning it. So we need to completely start from scratch and have that conversation with brands. We need to start speaking with the businesses that we're trying to get involved with. Because at the moment, all we're doing is we have this thing of what we think they want, and it's actually so far from what they need or what they are looking for. So unless you have that conversation with a brand directly, you don't know what they want. But what you can do is you can have a look at industry trends and you can figure out what that industry tends to be looking for. So when it comes to your audience, this is where you need to get down and dirty with the weeds. You need to be able to start measuring data and quantifying that. And the easiest way you can do that is with something called analytics. Now, unfortunately, with all of this, either you pay somebody to do it or you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and start understanding this stuff. So when it comes to social media, like your LinkedIn or your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever platform you're on, the way that you prove your value and that you sell your value is by looking at the value and figuring out what these numbers are. You can find dashboards on any of the platforms that will give you all of these numbers. Things like your audience reach. So that'll be the people that you're able to, potentially reach out to when you put a post out. You'll be able to see what your engagement rates are. Keep an ear out for that word, because we'll come back to that time and time and time again, because when it comes to social media audiences, your engagement rate is going to be your meal ticket. That's going to be one of your most important things that you can pay attention to. But you'll find out what your engagement rate is. You'll find out, when potentially the best time to post any content is as well. A lot of people are under the misunderstanding that you need to have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of followers on social media to have any impact, when the reality of things are that micro-influencers and nano-influencers are where brands are more and more reaching out to. So brands that have, say, under 10,000 followers, they'll maybe put less money into it, but they'll be happier to put that money into it, if that makes sense. If you're trying to sell yourself as well, purely on your social media following, that might be where reality hits you quite hard, because realistically, at that point, under 10,000 followers and under, XYZ engagement rate, you're only going to get between £250 to £450 for any sort of campaign that they're going to be doing with you because of that figure. The problem is that back in the day, this wasn't the case, and social media now is a very matured industry. They've learned their lessons from all of those influencers who would simply buy tens of thousands of followers and then not have the engagement rate to back that up. But that doesn't mean that it's not an avenue for you to explore, for you to be able to build up. Let's take people like Jimmy Broadbent and Jardier, for instance. Now, I know them very well from being sim racers. And the thing is that we all are familiar with the way that they started. They started on YouTube. They started on Twitch by doing streams of what they were passionate about, streams of what they loved. And now they're in real life racing seats because of that audience that they've built up, because of that connection and the journey that they've went on. So the point here is that if they can achieve it, there is no reason that anybody in a similar situation with a passion, with a love, with an ability to reach out and start building that audience can't get there as well. But that didn't happen overnight. That took time. And there's a way of having that halfway house of building an audience and quantifying that audience, but also having real life racing experience as well. You've already got that going for you. And if you're already on that journey, then you're kind of 2 steps ahead of that curve, and you can be using that content to push things through as well. So we're identifying our audience, we're getting the numbers. But another thing that's important is to segregate our audience as well. We can use our social media platforms, we can use our website analytics to find out the gender of our audience. We can find out what age they are, where they come from, what they tend to look for, what hobbies they've got. We can use all of that sort of data to then go and approach brands and say, look, here's who I have access to. Is this of any interest to you whatsoever? But again, the key thing here, and this is the point we're going to come back to time and time and time again, it's data. It's the amount of data that you've got access to and how well you can build that up to help tell your story. So that's about knowing your worth and quantifying your value. In the next section, the next module, we are going to be talking about knowing your potential partner, identifying ideal brands. We're going to go back to the driver model canvas that we built up earlier. We're going to look at those ideal brands that you had, and we're going to try and figure out why they're your ideal brands, but we're also going to figure out if they're actual brands that you can work with.